Three families who lost loved ones who were killed in the worst mass shooting in modern U.S. history are suing three social media titans. Facebook, Twitter, and Google are the target of this federal civil suit involving the massacre at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando. The families of Javier Jorge Reyes, Juan Ramon Guerrero, and Tevin Crosby claim that companies helped spread ISIS propaganda that then ultimately helped radicalize the shooter, who ultimately died in a shootout with police after killing those 49 young people in that club over the summer. Joining me now, Keith Altman. He's the attorney representing the families, and also Keith represents the family of an American student who was killed in the Paris terror attack. So, Keith, thank you so much for being with me.
Good afternoon, Brooke. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I tell you, I read through this story multiple times because so as I have grasped this, the families are suing Facebook, Twitter, and Google, not just because they believe that's what helped spread terrorist propaganda in this case in Orlando, but essentially that you're arguing that these, social media, Google, pair content with advertising and are profiting. And you say that's not okay. Is that correct?
That's true. At my firm, 1-800-LAW Firm, we've been looking at this issue for quite some time. And the reality of the situation is that these social media sites provide an instrument, a platform to ISIS to conduct terrorist operations, recruitment, actual operational commands, etc., things like that. In addition, they profit by placing ads on terrorist postings. Now, what's kind of different about this lawsuit is that we have alleged that not only do they just place an ad, but the ad is particularly selected for the viewer based upon what it is that you're looking at.
These are all these algorithms. So when I hop on my Facebook page and it knows that I was searching for X, when I'm on Facebook, I see X on the right side of the screen. And this is all part of what you're saying.
Exactly. And so when they take content, they take the ad and they take the posting and they put it together for you, they're creating new content. That isn't just simply passing through particular content. It's kind of like if you have two individuals who write statements. You take a sentence from one, you take a sentence from the other, and you put them together. You can give a message that's completely different than what either one said, and you didn't even write one word of it. That's exactly what's going on here.
So then, Keith, what is the goal here for these families, other than perhaps, money or damages? What do they want Facebook, Twitter, or Google to stop doing?
They want these companies to act responsibly and reasonably, just like is what expected of every one of us.
Well, define act responsibly, because that's sort of nebulous.
Sure. Well, act responsibly in doing what you can reasonably do to prevent ISIS from using your tools. There is no question that these companies are aware that ISIS is using these tools. There are many things that these companies could be doing to help mitigate or limit the ability of ISIS to use the tools, and they simply choose not to do them.
And I know they say, just to jump in, I know Twitter is saying they delete thousands and thousands of accounts, but I know the issue is that same person who maybe has nefarious intentions then jumps back on Twitter and creates a new profile. That's part of the problem.
Yeah, but they don't just create a new profile. And as you'll see in our complaint, there's a guy, Driftphone146. He proudly touts that's the 146th version of his account. They've taken him down 145 times. You mean to tell me you couldn't figure out that, he's just cycling the name? But more importantly, the first thing he does when he creates his new account is he sends out friend and following requests to all of the people he was previously connected to. So it's kind of like weed whacking. You go out, you cut the tops off the dandelions. If you don't take the roots out, the next day you have dandelions. You got to take the roots out, and they're not doing it, and they could be.
I was thinking whack-a-mole, but it's challenging. Social media has changed everything. Keith Altman, thank you. We'll stay in contact and see what happens with your suit. Thank you, sir, so much.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up next.
Hi, everybody. My name's Mike. This is my YouTube page, Mox News. Thank you very much for tuning in. All right, so this is something that I've wanted to talk about for a while. Over and over again, the last couple of years, we've heard the mainstream media say that ISIS is the king of social media. They're just like, they make social media just dance like a puppet. It's their bitch, and it's just ridiculous because the mainstream media is ISIS's bitch. The mainstream media is the one that spreads ISIS propaganda. And in fact, I'm pretty sure that about 90% of us wouldn't even know that ISIS exists on the face of the planet, including people that have gone to join ISIS, if it wasn't for the mainstream media and U.S. politicians every chance they get going out to spread ISIS propaganda that Thanksgiving, oh, there's going to be an attack on the Macy's Day Parade on Thanksgiving. Oh, we don't have any, we don't have any substantiated reports that say that's actually going to happen, or any, any valid threats, but, it's going to happen. It's like they're saying, now's your chance, terrorist. Look at this. There's going to be a bunch of people at the Macy's Day Parade, terrorist. This is what the mainstream media does over and over and over again. And then they point at social media because the mainstream news media is incredibly threatened by social media. They know that they're a dinosaur. They know that they're becoming extinct. And they point at social media because it's their biggest threat to their existence. Fake news, so all the fake news on social media and ISIS propaganda. Meanwhile, I'm telling you, within just a couple of minutes of this report that says that social media is ISIS's bitch, and we're going to sue them for it. Within just a couple minutes of that report, this prostitute is like, oh, and ISIS website media reporting that blah blah blah, that that's other ISIS propaganda. Here it is. We just warned you about it on the social media, but here on the mainstream media, we're spreading it day and night.
We do have breaking news in that deadly attack on a Christmas market in Berlin. I can tell you now that ISIS is claiming it inspired the driver who plowed that truck through the streets packed with holiday revelers. An ISIS-affiliated media cites a security source's statement saying the attack was carried out by a quote-unquote soldier of the Islamic State. This is according to a U.S. organization tracking jihadi websites. We'll have much more on this in the hunt for a suspect. By the way, they released the person they thought could have been behind the wheel because of a lack of forensic matching, so we'll have that for you at the top of the hour.
And in fact, they're not just spreading the latest message from ISIS is that the German attack was us. Hey, we're taking credit for the German attack. We inspired that. Hey, we inspired that. You couldn't have done it without the mainstream media. They're the ones that are like, oh, you need to go to this website if you want to be a jihadist. Over and over and over again, they say this on the news. On the mainstream U.S. media. News media. And they want to call people like Alex Jones fake news, which, I don't have anything to say good or bad about Alex Jones. Alex Jones does what Alex Jones does. And he seems to be, attracting a hell of a viewership, so he must be doing something right. I bet you he's not spreading ISIS propaganda the way the mainstream media is. I'm telling you, here's a report that says, this is ridiculous. This is the report that says there was, in the same amount of time, just within a few minutes of this other report where they're saying, social media is ISIS bitch. They saying, oh, here's it, and it's not just that. The mainstream media is telling wannabe terrorists, this is what ISIS wants you to do. This is the technique ISIS wants you to use. Okay? This is what a big threat the mainstream media is. The U.S. mainstream media, who I call prostitutes and war criminals, This is what a big threat they are to the world. They're telling all the wannabe terrorists in the world, this is what ISIS wants you to do. Here's the technique ISIS would like you to use. Macy's Day Parade, there's going to be a bunch of people there. Okay? You don't believe me that they're saying this is the technique that ISIS would like you to use? You don't believe that? Here's Rachel Maddow just a couple days ago saying this is the technique ISIS would like you to use, which is the same technique that was just used yesterday in the Berlin market, Christmas market, on innocent people. You know, and that's the thing, is that these people are innocent people just out trying to enjoy their lives in this crazy, fucked up world. They're out trying to enjoy a moment. And this thing that looks again like another false flag bullshit attack by the psychopath military industrial complex who wants war more than anything else. They need an enemy for you to be afraid of so they can profiteer off of you and your children and your children's children for generations to come. That's why their mainstream media, military propaganda, news is spreading ISIS propaganda. Because you need to know what to be afraid of, and they want this spread. They want you to go, this is the website you need to go to learn these techniques. They want wannabe terrorists to know this is the technique that ISIS would like you to use on large crowds of people. You don't need a gun. You don't need a bomb. You don't need explosives. This is what the mainstream media is telling people, is telling wannabe terrorists. This is how dangerous the U.S. mainstream media is. Here's Rachel Maddow.
But in the past several years, both Al-Qaeda and ISIS have tried to get their followers around the world to start using cars to cause mass casualty attacks. Al-Qaeda wrote about modifying cars to make them more deadly to pedestrians in their Inspire magazine in 2010. ISIS aped that from Al-Qaeda, told their own followers to run down people with cars as well. In 2013, you may remember in London, 2 attackers knocked a British soldier named Lee Rigby to the ground. They hit him with a speeding car before they set upon him and killed him in the street. They tried to decapitate him with knives that they had. The following year, 2014, an attacker in Quebec rammed his vehicle into 2 Canadian soldiers, killed one of them, hurt the other. That same year, 2014, in Dijon, France, a man who had a history of mental problems reportedly shouted Allah Akbar before deliberately crashing his vehicle into 13 random pedestrians. The very next day, also December 2014, in another part of France, in Western France, another man drove his truck into a group of shoppers on the street. He hurt 10 people. And of course, the one that's very present in our minds because it was the most deadly attack of all, and because it was this year, was in Nice, where the radicalized Muslim truck driver in that attack turned his large truck into basically a battering ram on a seaside promenade, killed 86 people who were out watching fireworks for Bastille Day.
Okay, so like I said, if it wasn't for the U.S. mainstream media, 90% of us probably wouldn't even know ISIS exists. A lot of the people that have gone to do ISIS attacks in places around the world probably wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for the mainstream media spreading this propaganda saying, this is what ISIS wants you to do. Hey, crazy guy, this is what ISIS wants you to do. Thanks a bunch, Rachel. Do you know that you're a military propagandist whore? Do you know that? Do you know that that equates to war criminal, Rachel Maddow? I know you're fucking smart. I know you do. What is your $20 million apartment in Manhattan worth that? You being a war criminal and encouraging ISIS to do attacks like they just did in the Berlin market yesterday? Is that worth it, Rachel Maddow? Who's who's really working for ISIS? Who's really, the Pentagon needs ISIS. The mainstream media is the Pentagon's bitch. This is where we're at. This government has to go. This is the Barack Obama government. This is the place that Barack Obama has brought us to. And they're all, oh, Obama legacy. Obama's legacy is Donald Trump. That is the Obama legacy. Duh. Okay, I'm stopping now. Thanks very much for tuning in. My name's Mike. This is my YouTube page, Mox News. Trying real hard to do the right thing. Swim through all the attacks from the trolls and do the right thing. And be here every day for hours, every day, working hard to do the right thing. Okay? Thanks very much for your continued support. It's because of you guys that I've been able to be here for 10 years. Trying my best to do the right thing. Stay cool. Wednesdays, this war is going to end. Till that day.
But also enjoy the holidays, because don't let the fear of these cowards affect our way of life, because that's all they're trying to do, is to get us to be scared of them and run away, and they don't have that power over us.
You know, part of this has to do with the reach of the internet. You have ISIS, you have Al-Qaeda, terrorists who are saying to people who may be inspired by what they believe, do whatever you can. A car, a knife, take people out. So is there more that needs to be done to stem that reach of the internet when it comes to ISIS and other groups?